Transferable skills. These are skills that you have that are transferable to a new role. I'm Anne Marie Segal. I've been an executive coach for 10 years. I also write resumes. I was an attorney for 15 years before that. I had to think about transferable skills. What did I do as an attorney that's transferable to my role as a coach? Um, what were the things I encountered on a daily basis or regularly that were helpful for me? And then there were things that I had to kind of discard. There were things I was very good at, like giving advice. I'm very good at giving advice as an attorney. It's not always the most helpful thing as a coach. As a coach, yes, sometimes you do lean in and give advice, but you're looking to step back and help your client understand their greatness without you getting in the way, without you solving the problem for them. I talk about greatness in a prior video in this series. This is the, excuse me, I do have a bit of a cold, but I, I felt the urgency to make these videos. This is the Making Your Comeback series, specifically geared towards the many thousands of people who have been laid off recently, but open to anyone who'd like to listen. And this video is about transferable skills. And in this video, I'm going to get into the weeds a bit, meaning I'm going to be very specific about an instance where you could be thinking about transferable skills, not as an attorney to a coach, as I just mentioned a bit in my own experience, but a role as a park ranger. And I'm just going to read what the AI overview is from Google. Happen to use that search engine and that type of AI. So a park ranger is someone who's entrusted with protecting and preserving parklands and protected areas. Their duties are diverse. I hope I'm not losing you. Just stay with me. This will be relevant to you, whether or not you're a park ranger. Their duties are diverse, encompassing law enforcement, education, emergency response, maintenance, and administration. So those are 5 things. We would call them buckets, for example. 5 buckets in which you have a set of skills. Law enforcement, education, emergency response, maintenance, and administration. If you've been working as a park ranger, you might not be thinking about these different buckets of skills. You might not have that view of it from the 10,000-foot view of what is it that I'm actually doing, because you're involved in it on a daily basis. Or you might have a set of skills that you're focused on more than other skills and forget that you do those other things. I would probably add customer service here. I think AI missed that one. That's a hugely transferable skill that is needed in a whole range of roles. And it's not that you're going to be putting customer service colon in your resume necessarily when you're thinking about how to communicate these transferable skills. But you're thinking about what is the next role going to want, and how do I take everything I've done and frame it in a way that makes sense for the next person, because they might not be interested at all in me having been a park ranger, but they're interested in what that role taught me that I can now do next. So, core responsibilities, protection and preservation, law enforcement, visitor services. See, now they talk about customer service. They mention visitor services, emergency response, maintenance and operations, education, and interpretation. I suggest that whatever role you're in, you do this. You find the overall description of your role and you start thinking about it. Think about it from the perspective of the person who would be managing you or the person who would be managing them. I mean, this goes all the way up, to in a company, you'd be thinking about, your manager, your skip manager, meaning 2 levels up, who is the executive vice president, and I might have missed some roles depending on the type of company you're in, senior, vice president, senior vice president, executive vice president, the C-suite. People who are in federal government may not have even heard of these terms. C-suite is the people whose roles start with the name C, basically the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CLO, CRO, there's a CMO, there's a whole bunch of these. If you are moving from federal government to a private company, in terms of thinking about your target audience as a private company, it behooves you to understand the language that they use. Um, think about it from the perspective of the CEO, who again has the board over him, and then the board has the board chair over them, et cetera. Think about how they would describe your role in terms of what you're actually doing now and what pieces of your role can transfer to another role. Say you were moving within a company and you were in the marketing group, and now you're being asked to do sales, or you're being asked to do business development, or you're being asked to do something in the safety field, or quality control, or you're working on an accounting degree and then you're going to go work for the accounting department. It's not as though everything you learned in marketing is not going to be applicable to accounting. Although some of it, um, you're going to be playing up parts of that marketing. Some of what you learned is going to be more relevant than others, and that's what we're thinking about. What actually transfers? Um, people, problems, processes. Those are another way to think about buckets in terms of, who are the people I interact with, the people I serve, the people I help. What are the problems that I solve? And what are the processes that I've improved or used in order to do that? Because that's really what most jobs are about, people and problem solving. So I've tried to give you a bit of an overview. As I said, I would suggest that you use whatever means you have to understand what you've been doing and what you want to be doing next. And that might be multiple different types of roles that you're thinking could potentially be helpful for you. The idea of looking at what skills would transfer to different roles is what helped me make my transition from attorney to coach, and may help you make your transition, which may be just as dramatic in some ways, a very different type of role. But one that, although now it may not feel like it could be amazing, it could it could really open up a lot of opportunities for you and allow you to exercise different parts of yourself that you couldn't in your prior role. When I talked about thinking expansively in a prior video, I talked about this. Like you aren't just what you did, those five buckets notwithstanding. And you may not hit all five of those buckets in a park ranger role, or you might, as I said, hit others. Um, but that's not all of you. You are larger than that. So transferable skills is really the concept of that is really focused on your skills, but then again, look at the larger picture. The idea is really when you have identified your audience or audiences, how can you make a case for yourself? How can you convince them? How can you be compelling that what you've done to date and learned to date and who you are, your values and you as a comprehensive person, what you're going to add to that new role?